It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at two more movies, this time being released on February 9th, 2007. We've got Eddie Murphy in a new movie that will not hurt his chances at winning an Academy Award later in the month, but we'll get that in just a second. But we also have another prequel to Hannibal, Hannibal Rising. But before we get to that, let's talk about that movie. The movie that literally killed any hope of Eddie Murphy ever winning an Oscar, at least that year, for his work in Dreamgirls. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Norbit. Was it really worth it, Eddie? Really? I mean, look, I said before about his performance in Dreamgirls. It's a great performance. It's not the. I don't think it's one of the best performances in that particular category, but no matter how I felt about it, he was the front runner to win best supporting actor for that role in Dreamgirls. And then this movie comes out, it becomes a big hit at the box office and was poorly panned by critics, and it basically cost him the Oscar because, of course, Alan Arkin ended up winning the Oscar for Little Miss Sunshine, which me personally I didn't mind that much, but I felt so bad for Eddie Murphy, man, because just like. You make a great movie. You get a performance that's nominated for an Oscar, and then you're the front runner, and then you put this out. Like, you should have known better than that. I mean, yeah, part of it is his fault for agreeing to this. Like, his name is all over this movie. I mean, his name is literally on the credits twice as the star. And the movie, if the movie was good, maybe we could let it slide. But nope. Nope, not this movie. Eddie Murphy plays multiple roles, including the eponymous Norbit as his abusive obese wife Rasputia. Norbit, unhappily married, is reunited with his childhood sweetheart Kate, but must contend with Rasputia and her brothers. The movie is literally nothing but watching Eddie Murphy being forced into this whole thing. The character of Norbit is so forced into every single scenario, and he can't do anything about it because he's just way too shy to say no. And that's literally the plot of the entire movie. This whole movie could have easily been avoided if, at one point during the beginning of the movie, Eddie Murphy just said, this character that he plays, Norbit, just says, "No, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing any of this." And no, he's just like, "Nope, sorry, I'm just too shy to do anything." It's just about like, no, you're too shy to do anything because you wouldn't have a movie then, and that's a good thing because this movie sucks. This movie is absolutely horrible. It wastes a lot of talent involved in the movie, specifically Eddie Murphy. Like, you should know better than this. But you also have Tandy Newton wasted in here, Terry Crews, Cuba Gooding Jr., Eddie Griffin, Cat Williams, Marlon Wayans, Charlie Murphy. This movie sucks all the way through. The only positive I can say for this movie, the only positive I can have for this movie, is that the makeup work looks incredible. And yes, the makeup work looks absolutely incredible. I mean, the fact that it got nominated for the Oscar the next year for Best Makeup, it makes sense. It makes 100% sense. Why? Because, the makeup work is pretty good. I mean, I think it's done by the same people who did the makeup work for The Nutty Professor, I think. I think it's also Rick Baker, too. I think Rick Baker's the one who also did this, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's his work overall on this. But other than that, though, the movie is just straight up garbage. But here's the craziest part, though. The director of this movie is Brian Robbins, who would later go on to become the head of Paramount Pictures and would direct 3 of Eddie Murphy's next movies that were not big hits overall. This one, Meet Dave and 1,000 Words. I could say that this is easily the worst of the bunch, but then again, Meet Dave and 1,000 Words are not that great either. But at the same time, though, like, what did you expect when you came into a movie like this? And the fact that people were stupid enough to go see this movie and make it the hit that it was, and again, coming out just before the Academy Awards, like, I mean, someone at the studio must really have had it out for Eddie Murphy. I mean, honestly, because it's just like, who puts this out right before he gets up for an Academy Award that he's near guaranteed to win? It's like what happened a few years later with Hugh Jackman. You know, he was seen as the major frontrunner for Les Miserables, and then he has movie 43, where he literally opens the movie up with balls on his chin. Basically killed his chances of winning an Academy Award on that one. Like, I mean, if I had to say which one was worse, probably Hugh Jackman, because he ended up losing out to Daniel Day-Lewis. And yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis was pretty good as Abraham Lincoln in Lincoln, but Hugh Jackman should have won that award, man. But I digress. The bottom line here is what I'm trying to say here is that Norbit is a terrible movie. The fact is, the reason why movies like The Nutty Professor worked and Coming to America worked with Eddie Murphy in these multiple roles was because they were actually funny movies. They were actually movies that actually did something with the makeup work. They were movies that were actually trying to be funny and not just be obnoxiously annoying. This is a movie that is obnoxiously annoying because the main character just can't say the word no until the end of the movie, because if he did, the movie would be about 2 minutes long. But no, we gotta stretch this shit out, and what we have here is a film that is not funny, not clever by any means necessary. It's a waste of talent. It's a waste of time. I mean, it's amazing that this isn't one of my worst movies that I ever seen. I mean, it's one of the worst comedies I've ever seen, but it certainly is not one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I've seen much, much worse, but for Eddie Murphy, this is right up there at the bottom of the barrel with Pluto Nash just underneath it as the worst Eddie Murphy film of all time. If Pluto Nash didn't exist, this would be at the top of the list here, and that's saying a lot considering what Eddie Murphy has done in these 20 years since this movie came out. But yeah, screw this movie, screw Norbit. Can we turn the tide with the last one we have here, Hannibal Rising? Well, sort of. Seems very fitting to not only use the same marketing campaign you used for Hannibal, but put it out on the same weekend, 6 years after the original Hannibal came out. Well, not even the original Hannibal, the sequel Hannibal, which wasn't even that great of a movie to begin with, but it was a massive hit. This one, not so much, but it's not bad. I mean, this is basically an adaptation of the latest Hannibal Lecter story from the book by Thomas Harris, who created the original series of books, and tells the story of Hannibal Lecter's evolution from a vengeful Nazi hunter into a cannibalistic serial killer, with Gaspar Ulliel playing Hannibal Lecter. You also have Gong Li, Rhys Ifans, and Dominic West among the cast in here. And like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie either. It's definitely one of the lesser Hannibal movies, and I think maybe Hannibal is right below it. I would put this probably ahead of Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs, but there's things about this movie I did like. I like the idea of going back in time and seeing what Hannibal Lecter was like before he became Anthony Hopkins. I think there's a very good idea there with what you could do with that. And the movie does a very interesting job at handling that storyline in general. I don't think it does it very well, but it doesn't. I mean, I'm saying I don't think it's done great, but it's done well enough where you get a sense of why Hannibal Lecter became the person that we came to know him for. And yeah, it's a really it's an impressively stylistic film, and there's a lot of good ideas story-wise. Not everything about it works. Sometimes there's a little bit too much of the gory stuff in here, but then again, it certainly isn't as bad as something like Hannibal, that is literally just the big scene in the movie that everyone remembers is the part where there's just way too much gore for no particular reason. I mean, it's not. I mean, there's no scene in Hannibal Rising where Hannibal is literally eating the brain of Ray Liotta. That part is just like, ugh, just get away from me, that man. But I mean, yeah, not much more to really say about this one per se, but I did like it. I didn't think it was great overall, but it certainly beat the crap out of Ridley Scott's Hannibal that came out in 2001. Like I said, it's right above the Silence. It's just a little bit below Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon. I guess maybe Manhunter too, if you want to include that, since it came out in the 80s. But yeah, it's not a bad movie overall. But if you want to see a better version of the best version of Hannibal since the Silence of the Lambs, watch the Hannibal TV series that had Mads Mikkelsen in it. That was really good, by Brian Fuller, and I definitely recommend checking that out. This one's not bad checking out either. It's definitely worth it. I mean, if you want to see a decent Hannibal Lecter film, this is good enough. Not a classic by any means necessary, but I liked it. Now, with all of that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and now we're starting to get into the weeks where the studios are starting to believe in the movies that they have coming out. These are the ones that they really are proud of. Whether or not the movies are actually good is too soon to tell, but next week we have 5 movies here coming up on President's Day weekend, including Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider, Disney's latest live-action film with Josh Hutcherson and Anna Sophia Robb, Bridge to Terabithia. We also have Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore in the romantic comedy Music and Lyrics, Tyler Perry's latest film, Daddy's Little Girls, and also we have the political thriller I don't even know if it is a political thriller. I think it is, but Breach. Spy thriller, political thriller. It's pretty much the same thing. So I'm just going to go with a political thriller. But 5 movies to look at next time around. And like I said, these are the movies that the studios believe in. Now, whether or not they will be good, we will determine that on tomorrow's show. So be on the lookout for that. But with all of that said, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the plays on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification button, as well as that bell, because you get updates on when new videos come out. And we do post here every day. Now, with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.